I'm gonna give him a call, and then I'm gonna share a story with you guys that I think is not mega funny, but a little bit funny. Let me give Bully. Where is Bully? Here he is. Second co-cast of the night. Toot toot toot.
Hello, hello.
Hello, matey. How are we doing?
How are we doing? I'm good.
Protoss players. They think the same, they say the same, they click the same.
That's right. That's the power of the Kala.
So Reynor versus Krystianer as our semi-finals. A rematch of the ace match of WTO Code as Play Day 1 that went Krystianer's way. That gave us one of the two losses. Fun fact, if we would have just won that one, we would have been first. So Krystianer is the reason why Basilisk did not finish first in the regular season. Unbelievable.
You hate to see it. You hate to see it. I didn't manage to catch the last Team Liquid game live, so I went back and watched the VOD yesterday after you wrapped up.
Pain me.
And just watching as I clicked through the VOD, your face gradually get a little bit more sad. It was painful.
But it was silly because I had no hopes at all that we were going to win the regular season like 4 or 5 weeks ago. With the start that we had, and obviously knowing that Yona was not always available, I didn't even really think about finishing first. And then suddenly we kept on winning, and we started winning pretty well, and Vitality started dropping points here and there. And they gave us so much hope, and then by losing another point on the second to last play day, I was like, man, this is so real. All that we need to do is for Team Liquid to put up a proper fight. They don't even need to win. They just need to win 3 maps. So you start believing, and then right when you start believing, Young shows up and he 2-0s Clem. Like, what the fuck is that?
It hurts, right? I mean, obviously on paper, I think most people would take Clem, but watching those games, you're kind of reminded that Ryung is a little bit of a gamer. He looked very good in those games also. Yeah. And it clearly wasn't like a ping issue, obviously. They both were playing on Korea, so...
Yeah, no, I think that makes the win even more impressive, because indeed, if it would be 2-0, I would be the first to say, like, yeah, guys, but Clem without ping is a whole lot better than Clem with ping, which is a statement that I absolutely do stand by. But yeah, these games were played without any ping. Apparently, Clem's got more TVT woes, because I don't know if you caught anything of the Korean Weekly this morning, but that looked a little bit brutal as well.
No, I didn't, but I believe it.
Okay, so he beat Oliveira in the semifinals 2-0, so that's impressive. But then he got bopped by Bjorn in the grand finals 3-0.
Oof.
Yeah. And if I think of Bjorn, obviously Bjorn is always a good TVT player, but I don't know if you think of Bjorn as the ultimate TVT expert. Because Bjorn is a lot about speed, multitasking, marine tank, let's fucking go. And that should be right up the alley of Clem, right? Those should be the kind of games that Clem loves to play.
Yeah, I think on paper, if you're challenging Clem to a race, he's always happy to take that, right? Yeah, and I don't think you also would consider TVT to be like the matchup that Bjorn would be a sniper in either.
No. So Clem's got some work to do. He's got 7 more days, give or take. I don't know exactly when the Koreans fly out. Clem now qualifies as a Korean, but I think most of I guess they fly back in time, so I assume the 12th. So Clem's got exactly 7 days to fix whatever is stopping him from being a TVT god. Because Clem really does have, like, obviously I'm cheering for the Basilisk boys, especially Reynor, but of course Serral as well. But let's be honest, Clem has the skills to win it all. Like A++ Clem could win it all at EWC. And it would obviously be silly if TVT is somehow the matchup that stops him. But he's got 1 week to fix whatever needs to be fixed.
Not a whole lot of time, obviously, but I believe it could be done. In the top left, the red Zerg player, my former, I guess we'll call him roommate and club partner. It is Reynor.
You're really going with roommate, mate. You visit him for 10 days and now he's your roommate. Then he's my roommate too. He stayed here for like 3 weeks, twice.
Yeah, this guy's a bum. He can't get his own place. He's just constantly freeloading off of the translation ability of others and whatever he was using home cooked meals. It was Vicky's home cooked meals. That's what he was freeloading on.
One hell of a bum though, making a couple $100,000 a year playing video games. I'll take that bum life. In the bottom right
And-
side. I'll do
Oh,
it.
go ahead.
I'll take it. In the bottom right side, we are looking at the main base of our Polish Protoss, currently teamless. He sent out a tweet into the world earlier today or yesterday that he is looking for a new team. He's 6,800 MMR on the ladder, and he's got his own style in this matchup. Perhaps we'll see it at least once in this series. It is Krystianer. You know, fun fact, since you were talking about you staying at Reynor and Reynor staying at my place, there was a week once. This is a long time ago. Don't ask me which weekly this was, but I would say the top of my head weekly, like 80, 90, 100, 110, something like that. So at least 2 years ago. First time that Reynor ever stayed with me, I was like, hey mate, you playing the weekly today? And he's like, I don't really want to, but yeah, obviously if I'm here, I'm going to go ahead and play the weekly, so you get to cast me. And I think it was either the quarterfinals or the semifinals, but I believe it was quarterfinals. He played against Krystianer. Oh, and I wish I would know the map name. And if I would tell you the map, you would know it exactly. Because it's the map where the Zergs always queen walked in the Void Ray meta. It's like gray, top left, bottom right, and queen and non-stop queen walks. Anyway, somehow Krystianer took the 1-0 lead, and then he took the 2-0 victory with a Zealot all in. And Reynor, he walked past me, and I could see he was fucking steaming. He didn't say a single word. And I tried to say something to him, but I could just see that like steam was coming out of his ears, quite literally. And he did not talk at all until I was all the way done with the weekly. I didn't see him in chat. He didn't co-cast, obviously, or anything. So 3.5 hours go by. I'm finally done with the weekly, because back then I think semifinals were best of fives as well. And then a few minutes past midnight, he comes upstairs, because I was still upstairs back then. And he said, hey, I have a great idea. He's like, what? I was like, what is it? He's like, let's go to McDonald's. He's like, I'm really hungry. I was like, what the fuck? He's like, please, man, I really need McDonald's. So, losing to Krystianer turned him into a raging Italian stallion for 4 hours. They didn't say a single word. And then all he wanted was some late night Mickey D's.
Sometimes that's what you need to dull the pain. I can't say I haven't been there before, and I think there's something special. There's something special about losing to Protoss as Zerg in that particular meta as well. I know for a fact that Reynor was certainly not a fan of that period of history. Although talking to him, you wouldn't imagine that there was ever a time that he was a fan of a meta against Protoss.
I know. It's almost like he has never won against a game against Protoss when there was a lot of money on the line. And then you take a look at it. His performances in big tournaments, and like, you're actually doing pretty good. Krystianer accidentally shot at his own adept there. It's not the end of the world as he goes for a defensive shade anyway, but perhaps our Polish Protoss is feeling the pressure a tiny bit.
Yeah, I think it's normal to kind of see this this sort of phenomenon. I think with players who are just below that sort of very, very, very top level, and obviously Krystianer is very good, and I don't mean this as a commentary to imply that he's not, but those little kind of, in the US we call them the yips. Those little things that are just not quite, accurately executed that indicate that maybe there's a little bit of nerves coming into play.
The second Oracle, so he's not going to go for a single Oracle straight into Templar Archives Archon drop like he did a little while ago. That the Polish Zerg Elaser has recently copied a whole bunch when he was playing Protoss. Instead, it's just a couple of Oracles as he's going to look for damage. Reynor very quick with pulling those drones away, has not really given Krystianer a whole lot to be very happy over. No Spore Crawler yet in the main, and I want to say there should be a moment that these Oracles finally find something, but that is a lot of damage as Reynor morphs one of the drones into a Spore Crawler as well, so now it's a lot of damage on 2 Oracles for 1 drone bully.
Really, really excellent micro there. Actually, it's sometimes very difficult to get that drone down into the Spore when you have queens that are standing in the mineral line, potentially blocking. And this is very good because Reynor has sort of produced, more queens as a means of defending without spore crawlers in every single mineral line. So it's obviously a little bit risky in the sense that you might be subjecting yourself to more drone damage than you would like to take. But if it works like this, it's an excellent position for the Zerg to be in. So you have to really feel pretty good about that. And this shade finishing, I think, is not the play either, as it gets sort of a pseudo surround with these lings. And since the queens are here to support as well, we're going to take out all of these adepts with relatively minor Zergling losses. So this is an excellent start for Reynor, who's also going to get this 4th base down without issue as well.
Yep. And some people may think like, yeah, but those adepts are not that important because he's not playing Resonating Glaive Adept. Well, A, you're always hoping for more than just losing them randomly against a couple of Zerglings. But now you also make it so easy for Reynor to go full focus on the other side of the map and make it a bit easier for the Italian Stallion to figure out what this follow-up is going to be. Now we've got Zealot charged in the way, we've got +1. Krystianer did not warp in too many Zealots yet to really give this away, but I think that Reynor has already kind of put it together, and even if he didn't, I mean, Reynor's is not that worried right now. He's cranking out nothing but drones. We see a mega quick infestation pit, so yes, he can spam a lot of Hydra Ling, and that's going to be very good against the current army of Krystianer, but he's also going to have Lurk access incredibly quickly.
It's also worth noting that Krystianer is extremely supply blocked here. We've been sitting on 85 out of 85 for quite a while, just finally finishing a pylon to get unsupply blocked there, but we spent a good 20 to maybe 25 seconds supply blocked. We're also going to lose an Oracle here for a single drone. Things are just not going his way. I mean, sure, we're getting up that Archon tech. The gateways are about to finish. We've got +1. But this is all fine considering that the Hive is on the way. We have Hydras that are coming out now. +1 missile attacks is almost done. Hydra speed is halfway finished. If you were going to design sort of what you would want this mid game to look like for Reynor, it would be this. He's going to sort of catch a few units on the move out here as well, just slowing them down, making sure that Krystianer kind of has to stay honest with those units that are rallying across. And this sort of ragtag Protoss army that is approaching the top of this ramp is really not going to be too scary for Reynor to meet mid-map and prevent it from getting on top of a hatchery.
Yep, as Reynor finds a few more Zealots, and these Zealots are supposed to be amazing against Zerglings with +1, but if it's just 2 Zealots against a whole bunch of Lings, yeah, it's not really going to go anywhere. I was overall confused about this move out of Krystianer, because sure, he's the 3-base Protoss and he only has 66 workers, but he also dropped a second Robo, and then he fired up Storm, so yeah, I guess that was the move out of, hey, please make some units, look at me, I'm scary, but Reynor is on 75 workers. I really don't think it slows the Zerg down that much. But now Krystianer has an idea. The 1-2 multi-prong. Couple Zealots on the top side, Warp Prism as a distraction in the natural. That's going to get deflected with E as well. And Reynor is looking very, very sharp. And I'm looking for things that I can get excited over on the side of Krystianer. I guess Immortals and Storm, baby. That's kind of it.
Yeah, if it's not even 8 minutes and you're starting Hive Tech Lurker upgrades, which is what happened here, generally speaking, things are going pretty well for you as the Zerg. I think that provided we don't make any massive mistakes for the next 60 seconds here until this and there's even a win for us getting that Oracle, preventing the detection.
Yeah.
The things are looking very good. There's one observer that's back home. We can't engage here as Krystianer.
Krystianer, you lost your Oracle, mate. You've got one Ops. That Ops is sitting at home. I don't know what exactly he is hoping for here, but this can never go well for him at all, and it's so risky to actually stick around on creep. Maybe as long as the Lurkers don't have the Adaptive Talents upgrade yet, I guess it is okay to be here, but it's also just silly. We are now waiting for that Observer to show up, but the longer we wait, the more Zerg units, obviously, that are looking for a great engagement as well. As a few Zealots are going to run into Hydras and Lynx, I would have liked to see him pick up a couple of those Zealots. Well, it is quite literally a couple. 4 would have been better. 2 is something, as that Warp Prism now goes to the natural. Reynor's got an answer for that too, leaves 3 Hydras behind. Kills it, man. It feels that Reynor just knows every single move that Krystianer is going for. Before Krystianer even knows about the move that he's willing to make.
Yeah, this engage is not going to go well for Krystianer in the sense that he will not retain enough army to continue pushing here, and he's giving up his 4th base for it. So even though we take an on-paper semi-decent engagement with the Storms against the Hydra Ling, the reality is that he's losing more and not maintaining those sort of key units to keep this push going. And with the Spines here sort of funneling him naturally towards the left where we have that sort of slant of Lurkers set up, it's really not a fight that he can take.
The units that Reynor used to kill the 4th base are now going to come in at the bottom side of this ramp as well, and Krystianer's little army is going to get stuck. I mean, sure, he drops a Storm or 2, but Reynor has completely obliterated everything that Krystianer had, that Krystianer will have in a 11-minute PvZ. It's Krystianer who has lost 1,500 resources more than Reynor, bully. Let that sink in. The only thing that I say I've seen better from Reynor is the creep spread, by the way. We're 11 minutes in, and there's actually incredibly little creep. But besides that, Reynor has played a near picture-perfect game. And Krystianer, well, he's got 62 supply. He's got a couple of Immortals. And I know they say Immortals in a dream, but I am not dreaming here. This is insane. Reynor has played a mega clean ZVP.
Yeah, this is about as good as it's going to get for a Zerg player. I think he absolutely perfectly deflected all of the little plays that are sort of designed in the early game to make you even with the Zerg. And you really cannot be playing from behind for this long against a Zerg player who has sort of all of the tech pieces that they would want to get. These little Zealot run-bys, they're going to be cute, but there just is not enough there to really threaten significant damage. And even this recall here allows us to get a couple of Immortals for free. There's one last Immortal in the top right wandering lonely into a Zergling. It's really just all Reynor here, and there's not any angle that I can see where the Protoss is going to take a fight good enough to bring it back.
The Observer helping Krystianer there, allowing him to bring the Immortals and the Templars forward. Do we have some Storms? We've got at least one. That one Immortal, by the way, did manage to live, even though it didn't make it onto the recall. But Krystianer's army is tiny here. The man has lost 2,500 resources more than Reynor, who's got Hydras coming in from the bottom as well. The Immortals are going to try to run on top of the remaining Lurkers, but Reynor indeed had an answer for everything that Krystianer threw his way. Legitimately felt that Reynor had a soul read on the Polish Protoss, and he could stare deep into his mind. Because before Krystianer was thinking it, Reynor knew it was coming. That was a beatdown. This Reynor is in shape. Why didn't I see this Reynor in the ace match of the WTO Code S? That could have made a bit of a difference, Bully.
Yeah, that's a good question. It's a good question. You would think with the number of games, though, that Reynor has played against Krystianer, this is how it should look if everything is if he's firing on all cylinders. At this point, he's got a PhD in Krystianer studies, the number of times that he's run into him on the ladder. So I think he's got to be very happy with that. I think he probably has a good sense of the things that he likes to do in this matchup. So provided he can execute, it should look like this most of the time.
Reynor has also been playing a lot of ladder over the last few days, as you guys can see. The stats may not be that impressive if you compare it to Serral, but it's important to keep in mind that Serral started playing when his account was at like 4-2. Reynor started on his account when it was like 6-5 or 6-6. So Reynor went 67-11 against Europe's finest, and that obviously includes Hero Marine, Spirit, Krystianer, and a lot of max packs, and even a couple of games, maybe 1 or 2 against Serral as well. And recently got over 7,000 MMR, which used to be, I would never say common, but there was an era where a couple of players were able to get 7,000 MMR, and players like Reynor and Serral would get 7.3, 7.4. Right now, it is so incredibly hard to get 7,000 MMR, because obviously the player base has shrank a little. That is just the way it is. That means there are less players, less MMR to go around. And a man like MaxPax, who looks fucking fantastic in every single game we watch of him, is often like 6-7 or 6-8. So for Reynor to get 7k MMR is actually very impressive. Means that the boy has been playing A lot and B incredibly well. And I think it's really starting to show, as he's about to perhaps win 3 weeklies in a row for the first time, Bully, in 226 weeks. That's a long time.
It's quite the accomplishment, especially considering who typically is going to be playing in those AU weeklies. Some absolute monsters. And yeah, you're right about the ladder achievement being quite impressive. You're right to say that obviously you'd think at first glance that Serral record is a little bit more impressive, but when you consider that probably 40 of those wins are against people who are at my level, it balances
and then
out
50 against people of my level, you know, like then it's then it's somewhat similar, you know.
It takes it down a bit.
Yeah, exactly. Now he's not there yet. We're talking about 3 wins in a row. I am sure that a certain man from Denmark has something to say about that, as he probably really misses winning the EU weekly. But here in the semifinals, it does kind of feel like we're almost there, because a game 1 that clean, that convincing, how could this possibly not go his way? The one lead, BASILISK, Reynor.
And in the bottom right, the blue Protoss player, currently playing for Starlight Twinkle, it is Krystianer.
Have you played any Stormgate yet, Bully?
I have, yes. So
what's your race? What's your race? What's your race? Have you made up your mind?
The main, it's hard to say. The amount of crying people are doing out about Celestials leads me to believe that I should play Celestials, just because I like it when people complain. But I have played primarily Infernals.
Ah, nice. We're brothers, mate.
Yeah, all right. Well, that tells me I definitely need to pick Celestials, because if the Protoss players are picking Infernals, that tells me that's the wrong choice. They're not going to end up winning for very long.
You know, it's funny because a lot of people used to say that if you played Orc in Warcraft 3, then you should absolutely play Protoss in StarCraft 2 because the races are similar. But what actually happened is that a lot of Orcs would always complain that Orc was weak. So they were looking for the one race that they were moaning about, whether that was Undead, not that common in my days. These days maybe it's a bit more. So they were mostly looking for a Night Elf human replacement. So most Orcs actually went the Terran or the Zerg way rather than the Protoss way, because they did not want to make the same mistake. And I guess that is the same logic that I run by right now, because a lot of people would compare Infernals to Zerg rather.
Right.
But I don't know, like Protoss, Celestials, too much floating stuff, man. I never liked those floating overlords. Now everything floats. The music is amazing. The race looks fancy. But I've just loved the macro mechanic the most of Infernals. I feel like that's the one that kind of suits me. And that's why I like, first I went back and forth. Like I was like Vanguard, Infernals, Vanguard, Infernals. But I've never been a human or a Terran player. And all those little guys that power build, but then they just idle, they stand around. Like it's just not for me. Too many little guys. I think I like the Infernals the most.
Yeah, I think the aesthetics mostly match Zerg, but when you consider the macro mechanic of the Infernals with the instant production after like banking charges, that definitely is closest to like a warp-in type of system.
Yeah. And I got so used to that, mate, after all these years.
Right.
It's not like I could never go back to a traditional way of producing units, because, you know, we do build Immortals, we build Carriers, right? So it's not like you don't do anything like that in Emperors, of course. But I do really like that mechanic, and I feel like they came up with a pretty clever, smart way. I don't know if you saw anything of my stream this morning, but I actually had a couple of really fun games. Like, games that I was like, man, I don't know why I won, but this was sick. I feel like, oh my god. And that's the feeling I think you always look for when you play a different RTS. Just that it gives you that satisfaction feeling of like, I did something awesome, even if I don't even really know what I did.
Those are always fun in the early days, because obviously just the game, and this is not just Stormgate, this is basically every RTS ever made. Obviously the game quality is highly variable in the early days, because not only does no one have any idea what they're doing, but the things that you are doing are usually so radically different from your opponents, because everyone is kind of figuring things out, that you have a lot of games where it just ends and and one player or the other just didn't know what to do. They got caught off guard by something and just died randomly. But when you get some of those first games where it feels like, okay, me and my opponent both played a real video game and actually interacted with each other, it does feel very good.
Yeah. Double Oracle here in Game 2, semifinals for Krystianer, but similar to that first game, he is just not finding a lot of damage. And this already gets me excited over that potential Grand Finals. Because the last time that Reynor and MaxPax went up against each other in the Grand Finals of the Weekly 2 weeks ago, Reynor won it, but it was damn close. It came down to the wire, 3-2 for Reynor, but at 5th game bully, 2 minutes before the end, he thought MaxPax was still going to win it. But even MaxPax, I do think, had a harder time finding damage with Oracles, as this is starting to remind me of that Skillers game in the Weekly last week. Please, no, Reynor's going to click underneath it. Yeah, I love that. Reynor never attacks from afar. If he has the feeling that the Protoss is not paying attention, he always clicks underneath it, trying to get a couple of extra hits off. But it's already a mega bad start, man, for Krystianer. Krystianer has lost an Oracle and killed nothing, not even a Ling.
Yeah, this is somehow even a worse game so far than Game 1, which was already just a disaster of an early game. I mean, the only thing he's really been able to do here is he plants a Revelation down and gets a stasis trap at the triangle 3rd to prevent the 4th, but Reynor was already taking his 4th at the linear location anyways, so he doesn't even really cause a delay there. So losing that first Oracle so early, we're getting no drone damage. We finally get one drone, but I mean, at this point, that's almost a consolation prize. There's really not a whole lot to be happy about here. And when we're going for a build that is quite similar to what we tried to play last game, that just can't feel confidence inspiring from Krystianer.
Nope, Reynor also gets the perfect scout in the main. It almost feels like he's taunting Krystianer a little bit here, who was supply block, by the way, at 93-93, one of the pilots that just finished up. But Reynor is overseer is just having a grand all the time, getting us perfect scuttles and each and every single thing. If you're Krystianer, yeah, I can understand that hope is just starting to float away quickly. There's no shield battery over here at the third. Reynor obviously saw the army leave with the overseer as well, so the circling shot a picture perfect moment. I have the feeling that Krystianer is almost like throwing in the towel. That is a 6 stasis trap though, but I'm afraid that he can't quite capitalize on it.
Yeah, I just don't have the army to keep pushing because he knows that more units are going to be on the way. So even if you do push forward here to take advantage of it, you're just putting yourself in a position that where you're eventually going to get surrounded as those units come out of the stasis. So all that really does is prevents his army from being chased, which Reynor probably was not interested in doing off creep anyway. So despite the stasis being huge, it honestly doesn't even provide that much value here. We're losing 12 probes in our third base. The army's now getting in position to set up a sandwich. Things are looking tough.
Yeah, things are looking mega tough. And if you look at this Reynor, you do really wonder, what are you even supposed to do as Protoss? What I always love, by the way, is that we can watch Protoss win 22 weeklies in a row, but then the moment that Zerg wins one, a couple people come out, it's like, man, Zerg is just so good. What can Protoss even do? Well, I think we're about to find out in the grand finals, guys, because we are in for a barn burner, a banger. It's going to be sick. Reynor Max Packs, the rematch from 2 weeks ago. The moment that Reynor signs up for this weekly with Clem in Korea, I think he knows that he's almost signing up for a best of 5 against Max Packs. And apparently the Italian Stallion is ready for round 2. Krystianer, by the way, taking better fights here. Nice pickups there as well. The only problem is that it just feels that the doors are wide open everywhere. And it's so easy for Reynor to find damage. Reynor is on 4 bases, Krystianer is not. Seems like we are leaving one Immortal behind, and Immortals are great, but Reynor is trying to make Pi proud over here by building a silly amount of roaches. He's got 29 roaches in an 8.5 minute game.
Oh, the changeling in the wall preventing these charge lots from even attempting to get out too. It just... This is... You thought it was styling earlier. I think it's styling now for sure. This Immortal is going to pop out back into the prism, but there's really just nothing that can be done here. I mean, we're trading roaches, keep in mind, for all of these high-value units. +2 is on the way. We do have a 4th base. We're up 11 workers, so the game doesn't even really need to end too soon for Reynor. But he's just getting so much damage, even in the moments where it looks like the Protoss is taking a semi-decent engagement. As soon as you check back on the other side, things are falling apart. And now that roaches are in the natural, I think we're witnessing the unraveling of Krystianer here.
Second game in a row where it's the Protoss player that has lost a decent amount of resources more as the Overlords are gonna come as well. They are ready to start spreading creep everywhere. Nothing but the Roach. A long time ago, a wise man said, do you believe in a thing called Roach? Reynor absolutely does. 2-0 sets us up though for a pretty epic grand finals. I think today, very simple. 2 players were simply better than the rest of the field. Reynor at the bottom side of the bracket, Max Packs from what I saw on the top side of the bracket. He did drop a map against the UED soldier. I don't know if you caught that one, but banger.
I did.
Yeah, banger.
Yeah, true banger.
But in the end, it is Reynor and Maxi Paxi who will set the stage for the grand finals of this edition of the weekly. Obviously, next Monday, guys, I'm not going to be here because I will already be over in Saudi Arabia. It's not quite time yet for the EWC, but I will already be there because I have some tiny other obligations. I want to give a tiny shout out to Dr. Scraggy for the 14 months and then Okri for the 14 months with tier 3. Apparently the Cyclone Man is back on Twitch. That makes me happy, Okri. And thank you so much, mate, for the tier 3. So, Bully, do you want to do a bit of the grand finals with me as well?
Yeah, absolutely.
Because these games were not games. This was Joe over minute 5.
This was Joe over before it even begun, unfortunately.
The grand finals is going to be a banger. So, guys, I'm going to take a little break. And by the time that I come back, we'll do a straight-up prediction. Because anybody that saw the best of 5 between Reynor and Max Packs 2 weeks ago, it was so fucking close, guys. It was 2-2, game 5, side delta. And honestly, 90 seconds before the end, I thought Max Packs was winning. I think a lot of people thought Max Packs was winning. In the end, it was Reynor who found a way with non-stop run-bys and great fights with lair attack armies against like Colossus and whatnot. Max Packs Reynor is sick. It's going to be awesome. We'll be back in 2 or 3 minutes. Neil prediction coming up. Straight up prediction. See you guys soon.